Hi, I'm Sarah. Today I'm going to read you the story of Casey, which is titled like this: If you don't like living with us, you can leave, my family said after staying in my house for 6 months. When I refused, they put my stuff out. I spent the night in a hostel, then I called someone, do it. 40 missed calls and 30 texts. Well, let's go. I'm Casey, 34 years old, and 2 years ago I bought my first house. It was a big deal for me, a real achievement. The mortgage payments weren't too bad since I worked from home doing freelance marketing consulting. I made good money, enough to live comfortably and even help my family when they needed it. My parents, Linda and Robert, both worked part-time jobs. Mom cleaned offices 3 days a week, and Dad did handyman work whenever he could find it. They weren't getting any younger, so steady work was hard to come by. My older sister Jessica lived across town with her husband Mike and their 8-year-old son Tyler. Mike worked at a warehouse, but the hours were inconsistent. I'd gotten used to sending money to help them out. Nothing huge, maybe 200 here, 300 there. Mom would call asking for help with house repairs, or Jessica would text about being short on rent. I never asked for the money back. They were family, and I was doing well enough to spare it. My house became my sanctuary. I had my bedroom upstairs combined with my home office, and I loved the quiet. I could work in peace, take breaks on my back porch, and everything was exactly how I wanted it. The mortgage was $1,500 a month, utilities ran about $200, and I had plenty left over for savings and helping family. One Tuesday morning in March, I was answering emails when my phone rang. Mom's name flashed on the screen. Hey Mom, what's up? Casey, honey, I need to talk to you about something urgent. Her voice sounded strained. What's wrong? We need to do major repairs on the house. The roof is leaking badly, and there's water damage in the living room. We got quotes, and it's going to cost at least $10,000. I felt my stomach drop. $10,000 was way more than the usual few hundred I'd send. Mom, that's a lot of money. I know, sweetheart, but we don't have anywhere else to turn. The insurance won't cover it because they say it's from lack of maintenance over the years. If we don't fix it soon, the damage will get much worse. I rubbed my forehead, thinking about my savings account. I had about $15,000 saved up for emergencies and house improvements. Okay, Mom, I can transfer the money today. Oh, thank you, Casey, you're such a good daughter. We'll pay you back as soon as we can. I was about to hang up when she continued. Oh, and there's one more thing. While the repairs are happening, your father and I will have to move out for a few weeks. We were wondering if we could stay with you? My heart sank. I loved my parents, but I also loved my space and quiet. Mom, I don't know, my house isn't that big, and I work from home. Casey, we don't have anywhere else to go. We can't afford to rent a place while paying for these repairs, please? I closed my eyes and sighed. How could I say no? All right, Mom, you and Dad can stay here during the repairs. Wonderful, we'll be over next week with our things. That evening, I transferred the money to Mom's account and started preparing the downstairs guest room. I moved my exercise equipment to the basement and put fresh sheets on the bed. At least it would only be temporary. The following Tuesday, Dad's pickup truck pulled into my driveway loaded with suitcases, boxes, and Mom's collection of ceramic figurines. I helped them carry everything inside. This is so nice of you, dear, Mom said, arranging her figurines on the dresser. We'll try not to be in your way. How long do you think the repairs will take? I asked. The contractor said about 3 weeks, maybe 4, Dad replied, unpacking his clothes. I nodded and went back upstairs to my office. 4 weeks wasn't too bad. I could handle 4 weeks. The first week went smoothly enough. Mom cooked dinner most nights, which was actually nice since I usually just grabbed something quick between work calls. Dad helped with some yard work I'd been putting off. They left early each morning to go check on the repair progress and came back in the evening. But by the second week, I started feeling cramped. Mom rearranged my kitchen to her liking, and Dad left his newspaper spread across my dining table every morning. I found myself staying in my office longer just to have some space. When I asked about the repairs, Mom said they were going slower than expected. "These things always take longer than they tell you," she said with a wave of her hand. 2 more weeks passed. I was getting antsy about having my house back to myself, but I tried to be patient. Then one evening, Mom made an announcement. "Jessica and her family are coming for dinner tomorrow night. I invited them over." "That's fine," I said, though I would have preferred to be asked first. The next evening, Jessica arrived with Mike and Tyler. Mom had gone all out cooking: pot roast, mashed potatoes, green beans, even homemade rolls. It was definitely fancier than her usual weeknight dinners. We were all sitting around my dining table when Jessica cleared her throat. "So, we've been having some financial troubles lately," she began. "Mike's hours got cut at the warehouse, and I can't find steady work anywhere. We're behind on rent, and our landlord is threatening eviction." I felt a familiar knot forming in my stomach. "I'm sorry to hear that, Jess. Maybe things will pick up soon." "Actually," she continued, "we were hoping we could stay here with you for a while. Just until we get back on our feet." I nearly choked on my mashed potatoes. "Absolutely not," I said, setting down my fork. "Jessica, I'm already housing Mom and Dad during their repairs. There's no room for 3 more people." "Your house has empty bedrooms upstairs," Mike chimed in. "We've seen them." I felt cornered. Everyone was staring at me like I was being unreasonable. "It's not about space, it's about privacy and my work. I run my business from home." Jessica's voice got louder. "We're about to be homeless, and you're worried about your precious privacy." "I never said I wouldn't help, I said you can't move in here." "Same difference," Jessica snapped. She grabbed Tyler's hand and stood up. "Come on, Mike, let's go. Clearly we're not welcome here." The front door slammed behind them. I sank back into my chair, my appetite gone. Mom shook her head at me. "That was very disappointing, Casey. Your sister came here asking for help, and you turned your back on her." For the next week, both Mom and Dad were cold toward me. They'd make comments about how big my house was, how I had so much room, and how sad it was that Jessica and Tyler might end up homeless. They did this every single day. I could hear them talking loudly downstairs about people who forgot where they came from. By Friday, I couldn't take it anymore. I called Jessica. "Maybe you could stay here for a little while," I said, "just until you get back on your feet." 3 days later, they moved in with garbage bags full of clothes and boxes of toys. That first week was chaos. Tyler was everywhere, running up and down stairs, slamming doors, shouting at video games. When I was on client calls, he'd burst into my office asking questions. "Tyler, I'm working," I'd whisper, pointing to my headset. He'd shrug and keep talking anyway. I tried talking to Jessica about it. "He's just a kid, Casey, kids make noise." "But when I'm on business calls." "You don't have kids, so you don't understand. You can't expect an 8-year-old to act like an adult." Tyler's behavior didn't change. Mom picked him up from school each day, but then he was left to run wild through my house. A month later, my utility bills arrived. I nearly fell over when I opened them. The electric bill had gone from $150 to $320. The water bill doubled. That evening, I brought the bills to dinner and set them on the table. "The utility costs have more than doubled," I announced. "I think it's fair if we split these costs." The table went silent. "We're not paying your bills, Casey," Jessica said firmly. "We're guests in your house," Mom added sternly. They accused me of being greedy and taking advantage of their situation. Jessica started crying, saying I was trying to squeeze money out of them when they had nothing. Finally, I threw up my hands. "Fine. I'll pay everything myself." 2 weeks later, I asked Mom when the repairs would be finished. "They're running behind schedule," she said vaguely. "These things take time. We're saving money slowly to finish everything." "What do you mean saving money?" "I gave you $10,000. That wasn't enough. If you want us to move out faster, maybe you could give us more money to speed things up. I stared at her in disbelief but said nothing. The situation got worse when Mom and Dad started inviting their friends over on weekends. We used to host gatherings at our house, Mom explained, but since it's being renovated, we need somewhere else. Your house is perfect for this. Suddenly my weekends became chaos. 8 or 10 of their friends would come over, expecting me to cook and provide snacks. I started leaving the house on Saturday mornings and not coming back until evening, just to avoid the crowds. But when I returned, Mom would always have the same request. Casey, dear, could you clean up after our guests? Your father and I are getting old, and Jessica is tired from watching Tyler. So I'd spend my Sunday mornings cleaning up after parties I never wanted to host. I kept asking when everyone would move out. Every few weeks, I'd bring it up. When do you think the repairs will be done, Mom? Still waiting on the contractor. These things are so unpredictable. Jessica, any luck finding jobs? The job market is terrible right now. We're trying, but nothing's panning out. Mike, how's the warehouse situation? They keep promising more hours, but it hasn't happened yet. When I pressed harder about timelines, Jessica and Mike would get defensive. Are you trying to get rid of us? Jessica would ask. We're family, Mike would add. I thought family stuck together. Mom would shake her head disappointedly. I don't understand why you're in such a hurry to kick everyone out. After months of this, I was exhausted. My work was suffering because I couldn't concentrate. My house felt like a hotel I was paying for but couldn't enjoy. My utility bills were crushing my budget. But every time I brought up concerns, I was made to feel selfish and ungrateful. So I stopped asking questions and just tried to survive each day. 6 months. It had been 6 full months since Mom and Dad moved in, supposedly for a few weeks of repairs. I was at my breaking point. My house had become a circus. Tyler ran through the hallways at all hours, Mom rearranged my furniture weekly to accommodate her friends' visits, and Jessica treated my kitchen like her personal restaurant. The utility bills were killing me financially, and I hadn't had a quiet weekend at home since March. That Saturday morning, I decided I'd had enough of wondering. Instead of leaving the house to avoid another weekend party, I was going to drive over to Mom and Dad's place and see this renovation progress for myself. The drive to my parents' house took 20 minutes. I hadn't been there since they moved in with me, always taking their word about the ongoing repairs. As I turned onto their street, I expected to see construction equipment, maybe some workers, signs of the major renovation that was supposedly taking 6 months to complete. Instead, I saw a minivan in the driveway that I didn't recognize. The yard was well maintained, and there were children's toys scattered on the front lawn. No construction materials anywhere. I parked across the street and stared at the house. It looked perfectly normal. Actually, it looked better than normal. Someone had planted new flowers and painted the front door. My heart started pounding as I walked up to the front door and knocked. A woman in her 30s answered, holding a toddler on her hip. Can I help you? She asked politely. Hi, I'm sorry to bother you. Who are you and what are you doing here? This is my parents' house. The woman looked confused. I'm sorry, but I think you have the wrong address. We've been renting this house for the past 6 months. My stomach dropped. Renting? From who? From the owners, Linda and Robert Williams. They said they needed to move out temporarily for family reasons. We have a lease agreement and everything. Is there a problem? No, no problem, I managed to say, sorry for the confusion. I stumbled back to my car, my hands shaking as I started the engine. Everything clicked into place. There was no renovation. There never had been any renovation. My parents had been lying to me for 6 months, living in my house for free while collecting rent money from tenants. And the $10,000 I gave them for repairs? That was just pure profit. The drive home felt like a blur. I was furious, hurt, and completely betrayed. My own parents had been scamming me, and Jessica was probably in on it too. When I pulled into my driveway, I could hear laughter and music coming from inside my house. Another weekend party was in full swing. I sat in my car for a moment, trying to compose myself. I walked through my front door to find the living room packed with people. Mom's friends were everywhere, eating food I'd paid for, drinking wine, laughing loudly. Tyler was running around between the adults, and Jessica was helping Mom serve snacks. "Casey," Mom called out cheerfully, "you're back early, come join us." I looked around the room at all these people in my house, people who had no idea that their hosts were lying, cheating fraudsters. "Everyone needs to leave," I said loudly enough for the whole room to hear. The conversation stopped, everyone turned to look at me. "Excuse me?" Mom said, her smile fading. I said everyone needs to leave, this party is over. "Casey, what's gotten into you?" Dad asked, standing up from his chair. "Everyone who doesn't live here needs to get out of my house right now." Mom's friends started looking at each other uncomfortably. Some of them began gathering their purses and jackets. "Casey Marie Williams, you are embarrassing me in front of my friends," Mom hissed. "Good, maybe you should be embarrassed." Within 10 minutes, all the guests had filed out, mumbling their goodbyes and shooting confused looks in my direction. Only my family remained in the suddenly quiet living room. "What the hell is wrong with you?" Jessica demanded. "You just humiliated Mom and Dad in front of their friends." "You want to know what's wrong with me?" I said, my voice shaking with anger. "I just drove by Mom and Dad's house." The color drained from Mom's face. Dad sat down heavily in his chair. "There's no renovation, is there?" I continued. "There never was. You're renting the house to a family with a toddler, and you've been living here for free while collecting their rent money." "Casey, you don't understand," Mom started. "I understand perfectly. You lied to me, took $10,000 from me under false pretenses, and have been freeloading in my house for 6 months." "It's not like that," Dad said weakly. "Then explain it to me. Explain how there's a family living in your perfectly fine house while you told me it was being renovated." Jessica stepped forward. "Casey, calm down. I'm sure there's an explanation." "Oh, you're sure? That means you knew about this, didn't you, Jessica?" Her silence was all the confirmation I needed. "All of you knew, you've all been lying to me this entire time." "We needed the rental income," Mom said defensively. "We're getting older, and we need the financial security." "So you decided to steal from me instead?" "You have more than enough," Mike chimed in. "Look at this place, you're doing fine." "That's not the point, you lied to me," I was shouting now, months of frustration and betrayal pouring out. "I want all of you out of my house, pack your things and leave." Mom and Jessica looked at each other and started laughing. "We're not going anywhere," Jessica said with a smirk. "What did you just say?" "You heard me, we've been living here for 6 months. You can't just kick us out. This is my house, I can do whatever I want." "Actually, you can't," Mom said, crossing her arms. "We're established residents now. If you want us to leave, you'll have to go through the proper legal channels." I stared at them in disbelief. My own family had not only betrayed me but was now essentially holding my house hostage. Without another word, I turned and walked upstairs to my bedroom, slamming the door behind me. I could hear them talking loudly downstairs, probably celebrating their victory. I didn't come out of my room for the rest of that day. I ordered food delivery and tried to figure out what to do next. My family had outsmarted me, and I had no idea how to fight back. The next morning, I got dressed and went outside. I spent 3 hours walking around the park, trying to clear my head and decide on my next move. When I came back home, I found suitcases on my front porch. For a split second, I felt relief. Maybe they'd come to their senses and decided to leave on their own. But when I tried to put my key in the front door, it wouldn't turn. They'd changed the locks. I stood on my own front porch, staring at my suitcases and a lock that no longer recognized my key. My hands were shaking as I tried the key again, knowing it wouldn't work but unable to accept what was happening. I knocked on the door, no answer. I knocked harder. "I know you're in there," I shouted, "this is my house." Finally, I heard Mom's voice from behind the door. If you don't like living with us, then maybe you should be the one to leave, not us. Open this door right now. We're not opening anything, you made your choice when you embarrassed us in front of our friends. I couldn't believe this was happening. My own family had stolen my house from me. I loaded my suitcases into my car and drove to the nearest motel. The desk clerk looked at me with pity as I checked in for the night, probably wondering what kind of person shows up at a motel with tears streaming down their face. That evening, I called my friend Sarah, who worked as a lawyer. I'd known her since college, and she was one of the few people who knew about my family situation. Sarah, I need help, my family has locked me out of my own house. Casey, slow down, tell me exactly what happened. I explained everything, the fake renovation, the rental scam, the $10,000, and how they'd changed my locks. Jesus Christ, Casey, your family is seriously messed up. Can they do this legally? Can they really claim tenant rights in my house? Not the way they're doing it. They don't have a lease agreement with you, and they obtained residency through fraud. I can file an eviction notice tomorrow. Please do that, I want them out. I'll draft the paperwork tonight, can you meet me at my office in the morning? The next day, Sarah had prepared an official eviction notice giving my family 2 weeks to vacate my property. She also included language about the fraudulent $10,000. I'll serve this personally, she offered. You don't need to face them again until they're gone. Thank you, I don't think I can handle seeing them right now. I spent that day at the motel, ignoring my phone which had started ringing constantly. Mom, Dad, Jessica, they were all calling, but I didn't want to hear their voices. Around noon, Sarah texted me, served the papers. They were shocked, your mom tried to argue, but I shut that down fast. 15 minutes later, my phone started buzzing nonstop. In the span of an hour, I had 40 missed calls and 30 text messages. They were panicking. The messages started apologetic, Casey, we can work this out, let's talk like adults, family shouldn't fight like this. But when I didn't respond, they turned nasty, you're being ridiculous, we raised you better than this, you're destroying this family over money. Finally, I sent one text to all of them, you have 2 weeks to get out of my house. If you're not gone, I'm calling the police and filing fraud charges for the $10,000. The call stopped after that. Sarah checked on the situation for me over the next week. Your mom tried calling my office twice, she told me. She wanted to negotiate, I told her there was nothing to negotiate. 2 days before the eviction deadline, Sarah called with good news. They're moving out. I drove by your house this morning and saw a moving truck and your dad loading boxes, and your sister was carrying bags to a car. I felt a huge weight lift off my shoulders. I confirmed they were completely out yesterday evening, Sarah said the next day. The house is empty, you can go home. Driving back to my house felt surreal. I half expected to find they were still there, that this was all some cruel joke. But when I pulled into my driveway, the house was quiet and empty. I used my spare key hidden under the back porch flower pot to get inside. The silence was incredible, I'd forgotten what my own house sounded like without constant noise and chaos. The first thing I did was call a locksmith to change all the locks again. Then I spent the rest of the day cleaning. They'd left the place messy, with garbage in several rooms and dishes piled in the sink. But I didn't care. I was just happy to have my space back. Over the next few days, the messages from my family continued. Mom sent long texts about how I was tearing the family apart. Dad left voicemails saying I'd regret this decision. Jessica called me selfish and heartless. I deleted every message without reading or listening to them completely. A week later, Sarah told me what she'd learned from mutual acquaintances. They're all living in a 2-bedroom apartment together, she said. Apparently they're waiting for the tenant's lease on your parents' house to expire so they can move back. How long is that lease? From what I heard, another 6 months. I almost felt bad for them, crammed into a small apartment after having the run of my house. Almost. Your parents are still collecting rent money though, Sarah added. So they're not exactly suffering financially. That reminded me, they still had my $10,000. I decided not to pursue it legally. The stress of getting my house back had been enough. I just wanted them out of my life completely. A month later, I was finally settling back into my normal routine. I could work in peace, my utility bills were back to normal, and my weekends were my own again. Some of our mutual family friends reached out, having heard bits and pieces of what happened. They wanted to play mediator, to help us work things out. Family is everything, one cousin told me, you should forgive them. But I'd made my decision, I changed my phone number and blocked them all on social media. I didn't want their apologies, their excuses, or their attempts to manipulate me again. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe in my own home. I rearranged the furniture back the way I liked it, restocked my kitchen with food I actually wanted to eat, and enjoyed the luxury of silence. My house was mine again, my life was mine again. Some people think I'm too harsh, cutting off my entire family like that. They say blood is thicker than water, that families should forgive each other no matter what. But those people don't understand what it's like to be used, lied to, and manipulated by the people who are supposed to love you most. I learned that sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is walk away from toxic people, even when they share your DNA. I'm happier now than I've been in years. And I sleep better at night knowing that no one can change the locks on me ever again. The house is quiet, the bills are manageable, and my family drama is finally over.